Good day, friends. If you are watching this recording, it means that you must have some kind of interest in medical missionary work, and that makes me so happy to hear. I am not currently at my absolute best. For various reasons, I've actually lost my voice, and I'm on the recovery end of that. The environment that I'm in at the moment is not absolutely perfect. There's noise next door, there's music playing, there's dogs barking, but I feel so strongly impressed that we are in a time where we need to share this information with those who are interested, that I'm going to make these recordings nonetheless, regardless of the circumstances around me. And if you're watching this, I know that you are looking for information, not necessarily for perfect recordings, and I hope that you will be blessed by this. Now, to start off with, I would like to introduce to you a little bit more about what we are going to be sharing. And you might be aware of the fact, or you may or may not be aware of the fact, that these recordings are shared as a part of a whole. As a ministry, Health reThink began doing some or putting together some training material for missionaries. This was done last year in 2025. We have recorded talks and sessions for reThink Mission Part 1, which focuses on identifying God's signature, His character traits. And we'll touch on that briefly, but you can go and see the full version of that particular series of talks if you want to go and view that. The second part, or the second module of this training, was focused in a little bit on the logistics and legalities of doing medical missionary work and how to navigate between medical missionary work and the legal system for medical professionals, record keeping, etc., etc. So that is also recorded. We shared some of those talks on Zoom sessions, and we recorded those Zoom sessions. That is available on the reThink Mission YouTube channel as well. Now, this particular model is going to zone in a little bit more, but for the sake of those who are going to watch this as a standalone training section, we're going to touch on some of the things we've touched on in Module 1 and 2. We're going to wrap that up as quickly as we can and then go on to some topics that are new. In this particular model, we want to look at some of the practical information that medical missionaries need to have. And of course, it is very difficult to make a fully comprehensive session or series of videos when we're discussing these kinds of topics. We can learn endlessly about the human body. The human body, and knowing it and understanding it, is a very big part of doing medical missionary work. But there are different levels of medical missionary work, and I hope that whether you are signing in on this particular learning platform as a very entry-level person who doesn't really have a lot of anatomy or physiology background, or if you're signing in as somebody with that kind of background, maybe based on your own studies that you've done in the past, maybe you have some kind of healthcare professional qualification, I hope that regardless of where you are at on the spectrum, that these talks will be a blessing to you. Take from it what is new. You can skim over what is not new and what you already know. We're going to touch on remedies. We're going to touch on advice, safe advice that we can give to people that we are helping or assisting. We're going to see how all of that ties in with the three angels' messages. So we're going to cover a fairly broad spectrum, and we're going to touch on it on a relatively superficial level, but I hope that by the end of this section, and especially if you're working through the content of Module 1, 2, and 3 of the reThink Mission training content, I hope that you will feel that you have some more tools to work with and that you are better equipped to go forward in this work. Now, let me emphasize something that I have also said in previous recordings, and I'm going to say it again. This is not meant to replace the training offered by other mission organizations or other medical missionary ministries. There are so many training series, sessions, video recordings. There are various tools on the internet, and this is not meant to be a recording trying to replace all of those other resources that are already available. I am by no means an expert that says that what I'm able to share is better or improving on what other people have presented thus far. What I do believe, though, is that different people share different perspectives, and that we all have individual experiences. So what I'm going to share with you is based on my experiences, on my own practical experiences from my work in healthcare, as well as my transition into medical missionary work, some of the practical challenges that I have faced, sharing with you some of the testimonies of how God has equipped me and led me for what I needed to do. And I hope that this will be a blessing to you, not as a standalone, but in addition to whatever other resources the Lord leads you to. Now, with that being said, without further ado, I'm going to dive straight into our first section, which is just introducing a little bit more background about our ministry so that you understand the context within which we are presenting this training material.